So hello everyone again. Today I will give you a report on on ongoing research in which I'm analyzing the Twitter reaction to an article on racism and Black erasure in Argentina in the context of the World Cup, of the Football World Cup. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments afterwards. So this is the structure of the presentation. I'm going to focus much more on data than on theory. I think it's interesting for you to see the data. I still have to develop the theoretical part. So the study, the aim of this research is to critically analyze the reaction on Twitter Argentina to the newspaper article, "Why doesn't Argentina have more Black players in the World Cup?" The article was written by the African-American researcher Erika Denise Edwards and was published on December 8th, 2022 by the US newspaper, The Washington Post. The newspaper Twitter account posted this article on the 9th, the next day, prompting a huge number of reactions. The method used is critical discourse analysis. The data collected comprises a total amount of 8,358 tweets on the time frame of 9 December to 22nd of December. This article prompted also a huge reaction from the media in Argentina. So there were a lot of articles being written about it. Yeah. So what was all the fuss about? So the article, in this article, Edwards, contrary to what the headline says or seems to indicate, argues that Argentina is a much more diverse country than people realize, as there is still a prevailing narrative that represents the country as white, and because of historical erasure of Black identity in Argentina's self-perception, perpetuated by various myths. The article quickly received hundreds of comments, and many of them were pointing out that the statistics presented were inaccurate. So there was a mistake on the numbers. She said the Black population was 1% and it was much lower. So most of the reactions were pointing out this mistake. And this is very important to mention because many of the reactions criticize two things, like this mistake in the statistics, like and then she was like kind of cancelled by being a bad researcher. And secondly, a lot of people reacted on the almost clickbait nature of the headline. And of course, most of the people didn't read the article to its fullest, just reacted to the headline. So this shows us already a little bit of the digital aspect or nature of this debate, in the sense that its content of production, publication and dissemination offers a very particular way of reading and therefore reacting to this article. So to give you a little bit of a context, Argentina Twitter is a very large community and very active. It's almost 6 million people. So considering the population, it's a big number. So sorry. Again, we have to consider the way the platforms algorithms work in terms of likes, retweets, and making visible some comments. Also the role of anonymity, particularly in a sensitive topic like racism. And also, I think I'm interested in also seeing this genre of participatory news article, which is characterized by its brevity, spontaneity, tendency towards subjectivity, and most of the comments are, of course, endorsements or rejections to the article. And also, some people commented among other users. And finally, I want to show you that there's something called something called, there's a little bit of anti-Americanism in Argentinian society, so it's something also to consider here, like relations among US and Argentinian Twitter users. So as you say, as I can show you here, as I said before, there was a lot of traditional reactions, which is endorsement or rejection. To note here again, it's important that a large number of comments or rejections emphasize the researcher's nationality, which automatically disqualified her from commenting on Argentina. And many also showed strong irritation, as the issue of whiteness or otherwise of Argentines is a recurring theme among users from the USA. So here you can see this example mentioning CIA. Of course, the author of the article has nothing to do with CIA, and she was not claiming that that white supremacy is prevailing in Argentina. Next, we have, I want to show you a lot of, there was a lot of denial of racism, of course, by being racist. So there was reactions like this, which is very common on Twitter, this using sarcasm, mockery, and irony. So people treated this, again, proving the author's point right, that the white narrative is still dominant in Argentina. Next, there was a denial of racism again, but some users opted for being racist, to deny racism by being racist. So here we see this comment where someone writes, "The Washington Post asked why there are no black players in the Argentine national team. Haha, they should look in the protests, blockades, and they see them all." Or someone saying, "We still need to explain to the Washington Post that all those who play in Argentina are even more black than the black people they have in the USA." So this brings me to a little bit I want to show you a little bit what's the situation in Argentina about racism. So the invisibilization of black people is not only limited to the dominant narrative of Argentine history, as the author claimed, but also is extended to social interactions in everyday life. In Argentina, true blacks are recognized by a minimal phenotypic expression like hair, nose, mouth. And if you don't fit this phenotypical expressions, then you're not a true black. But on the other hand, there's a lot of blackification of otherness, in where people are called black according to their social or status level or their economic condition. And for a lot of people, this is not racist to call people black because of their economic condition. So if I can show you again this, here when someone wrote that Argentinian players are more black than black people in the USA, they mean this, because many of these football players, they come from very poor households, some of them from slums, like Diego Maradona. And in Argentina, they will be called black, not looking at their race, supposedly, but at their social or economic condition. So then we have, I found a lot of denialism again, and this time I want to show you denialism in form of counter accusation. So for a lot of people, the focus on the socioeconomic situation when it comes to discrimination is simply a sign that race is not a problem. Like, I'm not looking at race, I'm just looking at, I'm not being racist, I'm being classist. This is what a lot of people will claim. So the fact that the author was focusing on race made her already a racist. So here someone wrote, "Why are you so obsessed with our skin color? That's very racist of you." Or "Skin color is not our problem," or "Argentina doesn't have that racial neurosis that exists in the USA." The next argument I want to show, it's also denialism, and it's this narrative of a melting pot. In Spanish would be called crisol de razas. It was also mentioned before by Yolanda. So there's again this narrative, and a lot of people were sharing this this image of how this miscegenation worked in Argentina, in contrast to the United States. So many users also explain, here we see someone explaining that Black, White, Amerindians are all represented in the team. So you need to know, this is a very, very simple illustration, but you need to know that Argentina is a country of migration, or at least it was. And by in the 19th century, a lot of people from Europe, but also from other countries, there was a huge Lebanese community as well, came to Argentina. And by 1910, a third of the population was immigrant. And of course, at the same time, the United States also received a lot of immigrants, but their impact relative to the native population was smaller. And also in the 19th century, Argentina had committed genocide against native population. So this is also important to keep in mind. So here I go to the so-called post-migrant argument. So people will go again to this idea of a melting pot and claim that in Argentina, mixed won't necessarily mean white plus black. It could mean also Afro plus Armenian, Polish plus native Argentinian, Nigerian plus Italian. And since all that shaped the country demographically. And also, again, in contrast to the USA, they will claim we don't have ghettos as USA does. There were Italians, Spaniards, Germans, Lebanese, Ashkenazi, Sephardi Jews, all they got mixed up. We don't have any pure wherever communities. And here he also wants to claim not pure race. And there were also people claiming this. For example, here, tell me what is my ethnicity. I'm from every continent. So this is very in line with the theorizations of Farutan, because they say the country has lost ethnicity labels. So the people cannot be labeled with a certain ethnicity. And then the last thing I want to show you is what a lot of users called intellectual colonialism or imperialism. So someone said they are so immersed in their own ethnic racial classifications that they cannot understand that there is racism in Argentina, but not on their terms. They are imperialistic even when they accuse us of racism. And again, someone claiming our ethnic categories are much more fluid than in the US. So, and finally, this is the real final. Some people was also being critical of what they saw as first world paternalism. So someone wrote, even though the article may have some valid points and a more nuanced perspective on this issue, there's still this notion of if we didn't say it, they wouldn't realize it. And this person was sharing Erica Edwards, the author of the article's tweet, where she wrote, Argentines are excited to finally have a conversation about race in Argentina. And this tweet was deleted afterwards. It seemed probably she received a lot of critique on this. So the discursive strategies are found here. They range from sarcasm, mockery, ridicule, so very common reactions on Twitter, to, as I showed you, a little bit more of a critical analysis, saying, okay, yes, we have racism, but not in these terms, and analyzing or explaining a little bit more. There were also like long threads. So then we'll go to my preliminary findings. I want to say that first, and the most obvious, is that the white nation narrative is still very pervasive in Argentina, and that the colonial or anti-imperialistic critique is used sometimes as a shield to prevent reflecting on important issues, such as racism and discursive Black erasure. And I think this is something to reflect on, that there's a lot of pointing fingers outside. And I think we as Argentinians in a collective, like to think of our collective identity, we should also analyze the colonialism from within, like why the categories we're using are also colonial. And then the post-migration vision, the post-migrant vision, if combined with an anti-racist and post-colonial critique, has the potential to change society and collective identity. But in a country that was colonized and in a nation state built upon the genocidal erasure of indigenous communities, there is a risk of using the post-migration narrative to, once again, invisibilize African Argentines and native population. And finally, the discursive strategies of dismissal, rejection, avoidance, denial, sarcasm, mockery, and ridicule employed in the Twitter reactions to the article demonstrate a resistance to addressing and acknowledging the problem of invisibilization of Afro-descendants and racism in Argentina. These strategies not only reflect a reluctance to confront uncomfortable truths and challenge social and cultural norms, but also reinforce existing power dynamics that marginalize and silence the voices of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, or if you may say, using a category in Argentina of brown people. Thank you very much.